Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Citi Business Edition. My name is Kojo Akoto Boating. Today we are talking about food and food processing, value addition, and good nutrition. My guest is somebody who trained as a medical doctor, practiced as a medical doctor, but very passionate about quality food, processing, and value addition. He's a regular feature on Citi TV's Breakfast Daily on the health segment to discuss health issues. But I brought him today to talk to me about the business that he does called Legacy Foods. Doc, good morning and welcome to the Citi Business Edition.
Good morning, Kojo, and thank you for having me.
I've been watching you on TV, just watching because I hardly hear what you say because I'm usually on radio whilst you're on TV.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to go and play back on Facebook or YouTube. You're a medical doctor.
Yes, I am. 10 years old in the business.
10 years old in the business.
We graduated in 2012, so this is our 10th anniversary.
Oh, that's nice. Legon, I guess.
Yes, Legon.
So there is the School of Medical Sciences at KNUST, and there is the
University of Ghana Medical School
at Legon.
Yes.
And then there's UHAS.
Yes.
I think UCC also has a medical
Yes, they do
program.
now. Yes,
and
I know UDS
also has a medical program. Interesting. So how is it like being a doctor?
I think it's very challenging. I mean, for all the reasons that you're all aware of, but it's also challenging as a person intellectually, because you have to be able to synthesize a lot of things and look at the resources you have and get the best possible outcome in spite of all the challenges. So it's one of the most. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything else. I mean, if I had to do it all over, I'll still probably go through medical school because it opens doors for a lot of other things as well. So I mean, it's been an exciting journey.
I get excited when I see doctors. Because I absolutely loved biology. And I think I remember almost everything I learned in biology. But I was afraid of blood.
Oh.
So I knew I could never make a doctor.
You grow out of it. I mean, everybody had their challenges in the first couple of weeks when we started actually engaging with real life people, patients, but you get used to it.
Interesting. So tell me about your journey as a medical doctor. So you graduated in 2012.
Yes.
How many years did you spend in school?
Well, we were the last batch to spend 7 years.
Okay, so now how many years do they spend in school? 6.
So now medicine in Ghana is 6 years. But of course, there's also a postgraduate entry level. So you do your undergraduate 4 years and then you come in and do an additional 4 years. So that's a whole different path. But if you go straight through medical school, it's 6 years.
Interesting. 6 years of your life spent in medical school.
Yes. And one of the biggest should I say adjustments in Legon specifically is that we were living in Legon on Legon campus and coming for lectures on Kolebu campus. So every morning 5 a.m. you are in a bus, and those days there was no road, N1 was not done, so it was quite an ordeal.
One of my biggest heartbreaks was when I saw buses from Legon going to Kolebu, and I saw the state of the buses.
Oh my goodness!
But I think now they are being upgraded somehow. They've been upgraded.
They've been upgraded. At least
the buses. 3 years ago, the buses I was seeing. Going to Kolebu were just heartbreaking.
At least the buses we used are no longer around. So I mean that's progress because they were uncomfortable, very uncomfortable.
After school, you did your housemanship.
Yes, I did my housemanship first year in Kolebu. Then I moved on to the Volta Regional Hospital to do another 6 months, and then came back to Kolebu to do another 6 months, so 2 years in total. Then I stayed in Kolebu, emergency medicine, for 2 years, doing, we call it medical officer, which is a kind of a requirement to get sponsorship for postgraduate. So I did that as well, and then moved on to do radiology for a year and a half, and then I've taken a break to pursue other interests.
I'm struggling to understand why you would leave a field like medicine to go into food processing. This is it. When we're growing up, for the African parent, you'll be a doctor. You'll be an engineer
or a pilot
or a lawyer.
That's
those
true.
Things.
That's true.
And then bank manager.
Oh yes.
So you are in the top 5, but you've left to go. Nobody tells your mother or your father that I want to be a food processor.
Well, I mean, I've always
Like, let's track back to 20 years ago. Your parents ask you, Kelvin, what do you want to do in the future? Then you tell them, oh, I want to process yam and potatoes for soup.
I mean,
just say, you do kusku amo about beton by.
So I mean, I've always, I mean, if you were to ask me what I want to be in future, medicine was always part of it. But I always used to say I'm going into agriculture.
Okay.
At that time, I mean, it was farming that I used to mention most because, I mean, my grandmother, you know, when you have a grandmother, obviously there's farming in the mix somewhere. You know, I remember I had a small piece of land in the house where only it was my farm. So I used to grow watermelon and other smaller things. So I always used to mention that I was going to go into agriculture. You know, and at the time it was a big dream. I mean, it's still a big dream where we spoke about growing the food, processing the food, selling the food, you know, so it's always been there, you know. And then I kept passing my exam, so I kept going for, you know, obviously nobody's going to leave school at that time to go and do farming. So everybody encouraged me, once you're passing the exams, keep going. So I went all the way, you know, I became a medical doctor. And I'm passionate about being a medical doctor. In fact, I'm passionate about wellness, you know, because whilst I was working in Kolebu, I mean, I had my own thing on the side where promoting good health, because I've always known that it's cheaper to prevent than to treat. You know, especially when you're in a system where the resources to be treated are not available, right? So I've always been passionate about good health, you know, and so it sort of ties into good nutrition, you know. So I'm still in medicine because I'm still trying to solve nutrition problems so that people don't come to hospital too much to cure their conditions. If you can prevent it before they come, then, you know, the doctor's role is not just to be curative; it can also be preventive as well. So that's actually where I am right now.
So at what point did you decide that, let me put aside the stethoscope a bit and the consulting room a bit, wear my Wellington boot and my gloves, go on the farm, get in the processing area, and start this business called Legacy Foods? So
okay, so the idea has always been there, right? But what actually sparked the drive was that I failed an exam. So I mean, I've been going through life, you know, I've never really had that challenge of failing exam. It's come a bit easier to me, right? So I wrote a major exam. I mean, one of the residency, should I say, progression exams. I bombed the thing. I mean, I bombed. They couldn't even find my name on the list. That's how bad it was. You know, so I had to pause and reflect on my life. Charlie, what's the way forward? I mean, I actually went through a bit of depression, you know, because, like I said, it was my first major, you know, blockade. You know, so I had to rewrite the exam in 6 months. So I mean, in that 6 months preparing for the reset, I had to go through a lot of, you know, introspection and what ifs and whatnots and all of those things, you know. So I actually then started putting pen to paper and planning the things properly. So I wrote the exam again 6 months later. I passed the exam, and then I put in my leave without pay the next day after the results came out. So I want to push this other agenda and then come back and pick this up as well. So I mean, I guess you can say that the failing the exam, you know, opened other doors as well. And like I said in the beginning, medicine is always a channel to a lot of other things. It's in elsewhere, actually, there are a lot of doctors doing a lot of other things, media, research, working with companies that are not directly linked to hospitals per se. So medicine is not necessarily something that you practice only in the consulting room, you know. So I'm exploring other aspects as well.
Now let's talk about Legacy Foods.
Yes.
What is Legacy Foods and what do you do?
Okay, so Legacy Foods is a Ghanaian company that is into food processing at the moment. Our aim is to process Ghanaian produce into convenient, ready-to-eat formulations or packaged food, so that the stress of having to, you know, prepare our food in the traditional ways is taken away, you know, and also to prolong the shelf life. You know, one of the biggest challenges in farming is post-harvest losses. I mean, data from CSR, when you talk about yam specifically, up to 80% of yam is actually lost. You know, so it's and yam is one of my favorite foods, but one of my biggest challenge has always been cooking or preparing yam. You see, because I like fried yam, but every time you go out there to buy fried yam, at least those days, they cut them in this big chunky, sharp, pointy edge things, and it was very frustrating for me. I never used to enjoy it, you know, because I like the crunchiness. You know, after when you break that thing, the inside is too soft for me. It was frustrating. So I prepare my yam. I used to cut it into the sizes like the French fries, right? And I realized a lot of my friends also liked it, but obviously I can't in quote, waste my time cutting yam for you to come and eat and go. So it's one of the, even though I like fried yam, I never used to do it as often as I could. So in that period when this whole exam thing didn't go well, I'm like, I like this thing. I want to eat it as often as I can. So can I do something about it? And my wife actually encouraged me. I was like, let's do it, because obviously she was the one who was then saddled with the responsibility of chopping up the yam. So she helped me to formulate the process to make it a commercially viable product. And so that's how the whole thing started. So my love for yam and my desire to solve one of the problems, which is post-harvest losses, is where Legacy Foods is coming from.
Ghana is the second largest producer of roots and tubers in Africa.
Yes.
Nigeria is number one in Africa. China is number one globally. I think Nigeria is in top 3 or top 4, and Ghana is in top 2.
Yeah.
So if we processed and added value, we'll be creating more returns for the economy. So that's exactly what you're doing.
Definitely.
And so do you farm the yam yourself? You buy from the market? And do you have a factory where you do your processing?
So we don't farm the yam. Our plan is to work with farmers. Ideally, we wanted to work with farmers and farmer groups. But unfortunately, because our volumes are not so high, we are having to depend more on the markets for now in the interim. But the ultimate goal is to work with farmers directly and offtake the yam from them and then take it through the processing. So that's our goal eventually. But I don't think we want to go into farming because that's of yams and tubers for now, because that's a whole other level of of issues that we are not ready for. So we want to focus on where our core strengths are.
Interesting. So beside yam, what other stuff do you do?
So we started with yam and we added on with sweet potatoes. So we currently process sweet potatoes as well. And then we are also currently researching into plantain and ripe plantain specifically. And there are plans of adding on cocoyam so all the roots and tubers actually are on our table, on our cards at the moment. But we started with yam and sweet potatoes, and we are growing it gradually so that we can add on the others as they come.
Interesting. So when you do your processing, how do you sell? Because I know that these days people want to be in the full value chain. They grow, they process, they distribute. Some of them even fry themselves. So how do you sell your yam?
So so our plan, like I said, is to focus on the processing and then distribute to off-takers or directly to individuals. So when we actually started, we were only delivering directly to individuals, but obviously that's a bit of a slow process and also challenging to deliver across the country. So we currently have some off-takers out there. Some of the major shops are actually carrying our products at the moment. So we have Palace, we have Maxmart, we have Game, we have Opoku Trading, H&M. So many of the big shops. Evergreen in Tema also carries our products. Sunturk in Cape Coast. So we are currently selling in 3 regions through our off-takers, major shopping outlets in Ghana. Okay, we are hoping for more anyway. So,
what's your production volumes like?
So, year on year, we are 2.5 years old now, and year on year, our production numbers are actually going up. Currently, we've produced over 40,000 packs of products since we started, and that's out of processing about 20 tons of yam and 20 tons of sweet potato since we started. So and it's increasing. Like I said, every year the amount of products we are able to put out there is actually going up, which kind of confirms that indeed there is demand for the product. We of course there are challenges as well, but I guess we'll come to that later. So we are selling directly through our website and through social media, and we're also selling through our off-takers, the shops and other online platforms as well.
What makes your yam chips and the other products you have unique from what we already know on the market? Well,
first of all, our products is our processing techniques is able to lock in the freshness. In fact, the brand name for the product is Fresh Cut. So it's able to lock in the freshness. You can actually keep the product store for up to 2 years. So that definitely speaks to the shelf life. And it's most of the people who use our product, the feedback we get is that it tastes so natural. It's not too hard, it's not too crisp. It's just right. So it makes our products stand out. And then one of the most important things that we actually made sure of is that our packaging is environmentally friendly. It's plastic because it's a frozen food item, so it cannot be anything else. However, we went to lengths to make sure that our packaging is resealable, so you can actually, after you have utilized our product, you can actually keep the pack and then use it to store your other products as well, so you don't have to discard it. So it's actually environmentally friendly, and that also adds to the value that we are creating on the market as well.
So if I got the fresh cuts,
yes,
there's the issue of storage.
Yes.
When I get it from you, does it need to have cold storage, or I can, because if my mother buys a yam and she gets what she's going to use, we just drop the rest, right?
Yes.
If it stays for long, depending on the moisture, heat, and everything, it may go bad, but we don't have to worry about keeping it in the fridge.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen some of these products that when you buy, you need to have it refrigerated.
Yeah.
How's your product like?
It's the same thing. So it's a frozen food item. So once you produce it, it needs to be maintained in a cold chain. So when you buy from the shop and you take it home, you have to keep it in the freezer. And then when you're ready to use it, you pick it out, you open a pack. You don't thaw it before you use it. You actually fry it or you bake it from the frozen state. You just open it, pour it in a bowl or basin or whatever, and then sprinkle your salt or seasoning on it, and then fry immediately. You don't thaw before you fry. You understand? So you treat it the same way as you treat your Irish potato that is frozen. The same way. The thing is, a lot of people have done this before, in the sense that they actually peel their own yam and store, but the problem is that the yam begins to discolor, because of oxidation and all of those things. So that's one of the things that we managed to correct, or we managed to find a solution to, which makes it such that our products don't discolor whilst they are in storage, so you can keep it for a long time. The idea is that, yes, the tuber of yam is always available. You can always buy it and store it, but if you buy yam and you keep it, and as you said, after a few days or a few weeks, it begins to get spoiled, which means that when you're actually ready to utilize it, it's not as readily, it's not available. Most of it is now lost. And even if it was available, you still have to spend time to peel it, to wash it, to cut it. We've solved all those things, so you don't have to go through that stress anymore. And so it becomes a readily available, something you can eat as a main meal, or something you can actually snack on, like you're watching football and then it's halftime. You can actually just dash into the freezer, pick a pack, fry, and still come back to your table before the match actually resumes. It takes only about 10 minutes to actually prepare. So it's very convenient and easy to use. Anybody can actually fry yam now because of our product.
Now let's talk about sourcing your yams and the other tubers you use. Usually within the year, prices keep changing.
Yes.
Availability of products. How do you manage all these things?
In fact, that's one of our biggest challenges. Prices and the fluctuation in the prices is very, very wide. Unless you are in the business, you don't see it as much. You can buy yam for as low as 5 Ghana cedis, and you can buy that same tuber, that same size of yam for 18 Ghana cedis. That's how wide the swinging is, and so if you have a product that you are selling, right, and you don't have the luxury of changing the prices as much, then it presents a big challenge. So how do you make ends meet, especially when it's not in season, and that you can actually get it for cheap, and that's one of the major challenges that we are hoping to solve this year, by getting our own cold storage unit. It's because when we get the cold storage unit, we will be able to take advantage of the bumper season and then produce and store, so that it can help us bring down our costs significantly, but for now we only produce on order, which means that if during the off season, we're actually producing at a significant loss, and hopefully we make back that loss during the harvest season. So it's very challenging, so we're hoping to solve that by getting our own cold storage units set up.
Wow. and the yam, do you get all from Ghana, or you get from neighboring countries?
Everything we use is all the products we are using are from Ghana. So we source our yam from Vault is now OT region. I was going to say North Water, so now OT region, and then we also get from the north itself, so Tamale and beyond. So everything we are getting is from Ghana.
If you look at your setup and the business, what are the high cost centers that you believe when something is done about, would make your business better, more profitable, and give you the capacity to employ more people?
So there are actually two aspects. I mean, there are internal and then there are external factors. Internally, there are three or four, but three main areas, and I think I mentioned one already: storage. If without storage, we are forced to produce as and when, so produce on order, and that keeps our costs very, very high. So the storage will actually, in fact, per our analysis, storage, if we're able to put that storage together, it can reduce our cost of production by up to 50%. So that's a very significant thing. Of course, it's not a cheap venture, so I mean that's part of our limitation. And the second area is mechanization. Currently, our processing is about 30-40% mechanized, and we hope to increase that to about 80%, which will also help us in both volume and also reducing our cost as well, because then we are not going to be dependent on human labor, which is very expensive because you have to pay by the day and all those things. And then of course then there's the aspect of delivery, which presents its own issues as well. And you asked about factory. Yes, we do have a space that we are using, but it's at home. We have space that we have dedicated to this processing, and but it's still at home. So obviously we need a fit to purpose space that is purposely built up or structured to facilitate processing. So that's also on the cards for this year.
I'm looking at your Instagram page, and I can see oven dried catfish as well.
Yes.
You are into all that?
Yes, we do that as well. We do that as well. It's a new product that we are putting on the market as well. So yes, we do catfish.
Dr. Kelvin also is my guest today on the Citi Business Edition. A doctor who is now into food processing, producing yam chips, potato chips, and catfish, oven dried catfish, and other interesting things. So yam chips, yam slices, potato fries, oven dried catfish, all from his small setup that he's using to create value for the economy. So Doc, how do people get fresh cut products to buy across the country?
Okay, so you can visit our website, www.legacyfoodsgh.com, and you can actually interact with us from there directly. Place your order directly there as well, or you can also call us on our hotline 020-563-0220. Let me repeat that: 020-563-0220. So you can reach us through there as well, and we'll definitely be able to supply you. Or just go find us on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram legacy_foods, and Facebook is legacy foods, and we'll definitely respond to you as well. So I mean, those are the ways to reach us.
So technically, have you left the practice of medicine as I know it, or you are doing this and also going to the consulting room and the labs to ensure that you deliver medicine both ways?
Well, I'm still working as a doctor. In fact, I'm working with Claron Health International. I'm actually a wellness consultant. Like I mentioned, I'm very passionate about wellness. So Legacy Foods and Claron actually falls in line with wellness, because if you eat well, good food, no chemicals added, it helps promote your health. And then if you engage with me on the wellness side, when it comes to your general well-being, it all comes in line, because what you eat, you are what you eat. So both of them are aligned, and so right now I'm very happy with where my life is going.
Thank you very much, Doc, for talking to me on the Citi Business Edition. Dr. Kelvin Osu is a wellness practitioner or consultant. Mm-hmm. He works with Claron Health International in Accra, and at the airport, is it airport residential area? Yes. I know they have one also coming up in Takoradi,
yes,
as well. And he also runs Legacy Foods, and their brands are the Fresh Cuts brands. Yes. Fresh Cuts yam chips, yam slices, potato chips,
sweet potato, yes,
and also the Fresh Cut oven dried
catfish.
That's
adjuni
for soup.
Yes,
it's been good talking to you, Doc. I wish you all the best. Follow Legacy Foods at legacy_foods on Facebook
and Instagram.
Thank you for listening. My name is Kojo Akoto Boating. The Citi Breakfast Show continues. Stay with us.